First of all, we're going to talk voting, and we will vote 1 week from today. The person in Calhoun County who's been running our elections now for 3 decades is with us. That's Clerk Register Ann Norlander. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning. I was only 18 when I was first elected.
That's right, yeah. I covered that race in 1988. I worked for a different radio station at the time, but I was at the county building in Marshall. That was a pretty legendary race. Marcus Gray was considered pretty much unbeatable and pretty much ran politics in Calhoun County in 1988 and for many years before that.
Yes.
And he pretty much had a snowball's chance in hell of winning that, but you won it.
1%. I did.
1%. Is that what it was?
That's
1%.
what it was.
I remember it was close, and I remember really it was.
Oh,
like
no, it was 1% chance that I would win.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, I kind of did just fine. I won with 53% of the vote.
Oh, well, then that was a pretty good margin. But they didn't sort it out until the wee hours. All of the elections that year seemed to go an awful long time. And I thought it'd be interesting. You know, I mean, you've been on the job for 30 years. You've seen it all in voting. What kind of shape are we in right now? Or I don't remember too many of those all-night deals in recent years.
No, we haven't, because we have gone from, when I inherited the office, from 4 different voting methods, from paper for some of the small townships to some had converted to punch card, and we still had the lever machines. So I guess that's 3. And so those all had to be trained individually on different how they would conduct their elections. And it was an awesome task back then. And then the clerks and the county all got together and voted on the same voting machines. So optical scan came into being. And we decided as a group that we would all be on the same equipment, which made everything much easier for all of us.
Where are we at today with equipment? What are we using now?
Brand new equipment, tested, retested, and I can attest to the fact that sometimes there's a 6-foot spreadsheet for all scenarios of voting, and you can feel very comfortable on election morning that you're going to be able to go in and your vote will be counted properly.
Quite a few people have already voted. Do you have any way of knowing how many in Calhoun County have voted absentee or taken out absentee?
That's up to the city and township clerks. Our job at the county is to order the ballots and to do the training and to do the supplies and all of that. That's not to say that we don't know what the number is, but those are statistics usually gotten by township and city clerks, not the county clerk.
Yeah. What's your sense? My sense is that more people than ever before are voting absentee ballot.
I think that's the wave of the future. That's why when we're talking about proposals this morning and embedding this legislation into the Constitution, I think we better think twice because it won't be able to be changed unless it's 75% vote of the legislature.
Right, yeah. That all 3 of these proposals, that's the case. There'll be constitutional amendments, so it would require a 3/4 vote in the legislature, and that's pretty hard these days to get 3/4 of any legislature to agree on anything. But we're going to talk about Proposal 3 especially, because that's right in your wheelhouse as an election official. And why don't we get right into it? What would it do, the voting policies in Michigan Constitutional Initiative, Proposal 18-3, I guess is what it's called. And
you want to do the voting rights first?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
What if we vote yes, what are we doing?
Well, let me give you a little background. I'm not here to say this is how I feel or you should feel. These are the pros and cons.
Great.
This proposal is an initiative, constitutional amendment proposed by a group called Promote the Vote. If adopted, it would grant citizens certain voting rights, within quotes, within the Michigan Constitution as follows. There are, to most of these proposals, about 3,500 words, and they pared them down to 100. So those entire ballots will be posted in all of the precincts. So if anyone wants to take the time to read them and see how uninclusive these proposals are,
that's tough,
on the ballot.
Who's going to do
they
that?
aren't, but we by law have to post them.
I understand.
I would
yeah.
wallpaper a small bathroom. Okay,
But
so
we don't recommend it.
who knows? Okay, so it will change the Constitution. And when we begin to tweak the Constitution, as I said before, we're getting into territory that some people may not feel comfortable with, and others may feel they're bypassing the legislature to do these things, which I understand their frustration. But this is forever stuff. So it will protect the right to a secret ballot. We already have that in the Constitution. It will send ballots to military and overseas men and women serving 45 days before the election. We already do that. Straight party voting option will be part of the ballot. We had that overturned, and this election you may not vote straight party. You have to vote your entire ballot, which I have always advocated for, always. Whether it creates longer lines, I don't know. I mean, I watched thousands of people stand in lines for the lottery, and now they're complaining that they have to stand in line.
What's your reason for wanting people to have to choose everyone?
I think that, as someone said, voting is a right best exercised by people who have taken the time to learn about the issues.
Exactly. I agree 100%.
And, for someone to say, well, minority communities don't vote like that or can't vote like that, to me is, a slap in someone's face. I think everyone who has taken that time to learn about the issues and not go in the day of the election totally unprepared, they're making a huge mistake. But they can go to michigan.gov/vote, and they may pick up their own ballot by following the instructions that are given there. So,
and there's even a link on your county website where you can do that. If you just Google Calhoun County elections, you'll click on the link and it takes you to that nifty thing. You put your name or just even your address, I think, and it'll tell you what you're going to be seeing when you walk in.
So we've made lots of strides, both as a state and a county, to not, as we're often called, suppressing the vote. There is no way that we're suppressing the vote. I want everyone. I'm a former teacher. I want my children didn't leave for lunch without answering a history question, for instance. So, we all bear responsibility to educate our children at home. Take your children to the polls with you. Have them watch you vote. That's perfectly permissible. I mean, I wouldn't take a 25-year-old child, son or daughter in there with us, but young children deserve to understand democracy.
Yeah, and I think it's just a cop-out to say, yep, we walk in, we check this box, we walk out. I mean, you want your kids to see you voting like that, or do you want them to say, you know what, I thought about these things, and here's what we're going to do?
Absolutely right. And then that even if you vote that straight party that's on this proposal, that's locked into us forever and ever. Now, I guess I'm being outwardly opposed to this, but the Constitution is not going to be changed. This is a constitutional amendment. This is forever and ever. We're only one of 4 states, I believe, that have straight party voting or have had in the past.
Yeah, that is very rare. It's much more common for people to have not stating a reason for an absentee ballot. And I don't know, I kind of like that idea. I mean, I'm okay with that.
I'm not down there yet, but I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, people that have absentee ballots, as you know, they pretty much have to have a look at them and think about them for a minute.
And sit at the kitchen table and take their time doing it under no pressure. And as far as the lines go, like I said, we can stand in line on Black Friday for a color TV in the rain with a tent. But, people start complaining when they have to stand in line to do their, the right of great America. I mean, that's what we're based on. So getting back to this, we will have automatic voter registration when we conduct business at the Secretary of State's office. When you go in now, they'll ask you if you'd like to be registered to vote. I'm concerned a little bit about good proof that they are a citizen, that there's picture ID and all of that. Allow citizens to vote anytime. That would mean early voting. That would mean what I read 2 weeks before the election. And registering on election day. On I can't go along with that.
That's a
county
tough
clerk.
one. That's a tough one. That's gotta, boy, that could create a mess.
Could create a mess. You know, we try our very best when men and women are going through the polls to find any form of identification so that they are able to vote, so that they are not turned away.
Mm-hmm.
But a picture ID, a driver's license, a state ID, those are the things that are important. And, you know, Tim, with rights come responsibilities. And some of the responsibilities we have in Michigan, you can register up to 30 days before. That gives you 30 days to vote. We also can drive a car in Michigan, but there are responsibilities that go along with that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have training. You have to pass a driver's test. You know, there are rights that go along with all the responsibilities that we have. So to say anything other than that, I think our system is very well prepared to let everyone vote that is entitled to vote.
And the state of Michigan, now correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've really made great strides in cleaning up our registered voters list. I mean, I think we're probably ahead of a lot of other states in terms of getting the old ones out of there and the potentially fraudulent ones. And I think we got a pretty good list.
I think we do too. And we also have the checks and balances. Say, for instance, you voted an absent voter AV ballot and you show up at the polls. Well, that will be noted in the when you go through the line, and you have to relinquish go back to your house, get your vote that you didn't voted, that wasn't voted, bring it back. That will be destroyed, and then you can vote in the polls.
Calhoun County Clerk Register Ann Norlander is with us as we talk about the election. There were 8 things in the proposal 3. I think we've gotten to about 6 of them.
I think we have. One is the early voting issue. Allow no reason absentee voting. I'm all for that.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, the city of Battle Creek in this election will have 21 AV counting boards. And once you go into that counting board, you cannot come out until the election is over. So it's a day-long process. And we may find, since this is the first attempt in things of future elections to come, I believe, then they will come out with their results. So you can expect your election results on election night to be maybe a little slower.
And what else is in this proposal?
The last one is to require a statewide audit of election results, which we do.
So some of these things we do, they're just not built into the Constitution, but they're definitely, built into policies, voting state voting policies. So some people argue it's not really necessary to put it in there, but others say, well, somebody could come along and change it if they want.
They can't change it. Once it's embedded in the Constitution, it's there.
That's pretty much going to be it. And the biggest objection, I mean, people like the no reason absentee balloting, but the biggest thing that seems to trouble people is the same day registration, election day registration. I mean, what does that mean in terms of potentially? I mean, we don't really know, but what could that mean in terms of staffing for already, budget-strapped county and township clerks?
It doesn't say who's going to pay for it. If you have early voting for 2 weeks, where are we going to go? Are we going to have all of our townships and city precincts open for 2 weeks before? Do they come to the county clerk's office? These proposals to me leave lots of questions in people's mind. But the most important one to me is that we can't change it once it's voted on. And if this doesn't work, with technology the way it is, and moving at such a fast pace, what happens if this proposal has left us in the dust to make any forward-thinking decisions in the years to come?
Yeah, unless it's just a glaringly terrible problem, you're never going to get 3/4 of the legislature to agree to change something. So we really need to consider this carefully. All 3 of these proposals, we need to consider them very carefully, make sure that we're making the right vote and not just go in there and check a box and say you voted.
Well, and not be angry at the legislature for not being able to do their job. And so therefore we're going to bypass that and, make these new laws because they can't agree on one. And I think the biggest one was no reason AV. And to me, I think that's fine.
Hard to believe they couldn't agree on that, but they opened the can of worms. And you know, part of this too, I think about the Kavanaugh nomination hearings, and maybe somebody on the other side would have liked to filibuster to block that, but they had changed the rule before, and you know what? Go ahead, change the rule. That might help your party in the short run, but sooner or later, it's going to work against you. These are the kind of things that I think political operatives need to consider when we start putting these ballot proposals willy-nilly on the ballot.
I do too, especially down to 100 words when they're all averaging 3,500 words. So what you see on your, on your ballot on election day is not all inclusive of everything that's in these proposals.
So you have a week to do a little homework and read a little further into some of the things that Ann has talked about. Any last minute things we should keep in mind as we go to the polls a week from today in Calhoun County?
Well, I just hope that everyone gets out and votes. I think there's really no credence to the fact that, people are trying to suppress the vote. We want to see as many voters at the polls as possible. Weather's always an indicator of turnout. So if it's a bad day, generally speaking, the vote is, not as heavy. The last big vote we had in the presidential election was George W. Bush, and that was huge. And so this will be a big one, a very big one. So I hope that your listeners will be prepared. They can go to co.calhoun.mi.us, and we will have real-time results. We don't have election magic anymore.
Right. Had to change that to a new program.
A new format. So it's a little bit different than what we've been used to, but nevertheless, it's real-time results. We would prefer you not call the office because we get the results the same time that you will. And we will be having 60 precincts reporting, 21 AV counting boards, and that's a total of 81. And we have in our ballots 112 different ballot styles. 112.
Wow. Man,
so,
a lot of things to be considered. So do your homework this week. And Calhoun County Clerk Register Ann Norlander, nice to see you. Thank you very much for all the information.
Thanks for asking me to.
All right.